Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is the 100th episode of the Listen for Life Aphasia podcast. And in this episode, we are talking about aphasia independence. We are celebrating strength and resilience. So I got thinking about independence and what does that really mean? So I wanted to get another perspective. So I asked my youngest, my daughter who just graduated high school, who's getting ready to leave out of state in a couple of months. I asked her what independence meant to her as she's been fighting for her independence over the last year. And here's what she said. It's about being self-sufficient, not needing someone's direction. It's self-identity. It's comfort that you don't need to ask permission, but knowing you can get help when you need it. Not letting others dictate your choices, and self-security. Out of the mouth of babes, anyone? This really got me thinking about each of you. Each person has a different vision of what independence means. And what does independence mean for you? As we go through today's episode, I want you to consider dependence versus independence. Is it all or nothing? Is it black or white? Or are there shades of gray? Can an individual be independent in some areas, but not in others? It's a very interesting concept. So let's dive into it.
Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. This is a community, a resource, and a support system. We're in this together. Do life.
Hello, everyone. My name is Genevieve, and I'm the host of the Listen for Life Aphasia podcast. This is episode 100. We've been at this for more than 2 years. And I'll tell you, I'll just give a little background. When I first decided to start the podcast, I knew absolutely what I wanted to talk about, but I was honestly terrified. I spent weeks and weeks and weeks making my recordings, and even though I had 4 or 5 recordings done, I was terrified to release them. So even though I started in May 2 years ago recording episodes, I don't think I released them until July or almost August of that year. And I imagine that it's probably the same way for a person who has aphasia. They may want independence so desperately, but to take that first step, to step into the unknown, to step into the abyss, to put yourself into the hands, so to speak, of another individual where you fear how they're going to react to you when you can't get your words out, or if the words come out funny, or if you can't talk at all. How does a person with aphasia learn to develop that independence? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, right? As we celebrate today, the 4th of July, Independence Day in the United States, we're also going to celebrate aphasia independence. And I'll be the first one to say, I know it is not black or white. You're not all independent or all dependent. Communication is one of those interesting areas where you can look at it from lots of different angles. And what do I mean by that? You can look at communication based on who is it you're talking with. Is it a familiar person? Is it an unfamiliar person? Are you at home where you're comfortable and confident and surrounded by things that are familiar and comfortable? Or are you out at a restaurant? Are you ordering at a fast food place? Are you at the pharmacy picking up prescriptions? Or are you at a meeting of a group you normally would attend? So it's person dependent, familiar, unfamiliar. It's location dependent, where you're comfortable, your house, versus places you're familiar with out in the community versus places you're not familiar with. And then there's the whole idea of groups. Is it one person in a familiar environment that you're confident and can communicate with and fix any communication breakdowns? Or are you out with 3, 4, 5 people that are familiar? Or maybe you're out with one person, your spouse, who's familiar, but there's 3 or 4 other people with you and they're not as familiar to you. So when we think about communication, there's a whole lot of nuances that go into it. So before we get into all of that detail, first I gotta give a shout out to Mom. Hi, Mom. Mom got me this fabulous hat. There it is. So it is a Dr. Seuss hat, but it's the only patriotic red and white hat I had. So I thought, why not? We'll go with it. Think of it as Uncle Sam, Abe Lincoln, and Dr. Seuss all rolled into one. And if you're just listening to this podcast, you should probably check the video so you can check out my fabulous hat. Thanks, Mom, for thinking of me. So it's Independence Day in the U.S., but back in 1776, wow, that was a long time ago, it was a day of immense significance in the United States. A day when a group of determined individuals took a stand for freedom, laying the foundation for the country we know today. Just as our founding fathers fought for our nation's independence, many in our aphasia community are engaged in their own battles for personal independence. So let's talk about what is independence. And the first thing I would say is it's a state of mind. Independence goes beyond just physical capabilities. When you're talking about a stroke survivor, there are so many avenues other than communication, these barriers that have to be overcome. Some individuals have a stroke and they don't have a physical impairment, but then so many others after a stroke do have a physical impairment where one side or the other of their body is weakened or paralyzed. So those are physical barriers to independence. In a rehab hospital, we often talk about how much help someone needs to do something like a transfer. A transfer is moving from one surface to another, moving from a chair to a stand, moving from a chair to the bed, or vice versa. And we talk about these transfers in a way of, are they dependent? Do they need maximum assist? Do they need moderate assist? Do they need minimum assist? Or are they modified independent with just a little bit, standby assistance? So we think of that pretty easily when it comes to physical movement after a stroke. And we can think about it the same way with communication, but there's so many more subtleties to it. Just like I was explaining about who is it you're talking to? In what location are you at? Are you chit-chatting about the day or the weather? Or are you talking about something that's much more important, that maybe has more ramifications, or a decision has to be made? So independence beyond physical capabilities needs a mindset. And individuals with aphasia, we have to actively promote that mindset. We have to help build confidence. We have to build strategies so that they know what tools they can use to communicate in the moment in a variety of situations. So I have 4 key mindset pieces for independence in aphasia. The first one is self-confidence, believing you can handle a task or a challenge. Resilience is adapting to changes and bouncing back from setbacks. If you've listened to this podcast at all, not too many weeks ago, I was talking about resilience. And resilience is that rubber band that stretches. You get stretched, you get challenged, but can you snap back? Can you snap back and keep moving forward? That is resilience. Empowerment is another state of mind. Are you feeling capable? Do you feel like you have some control back over your life? And then finally, having a positive outlook. You have to be able to maintain hope and have a positive attitude towards the future. If you're always looking back to the person you were before and wishing that that's where you were now, you are missing out on the present opportunities to become the next person you can be. Not to discount who you were before, but who can you be now? How can you show your resilience, your self-confidence? How can you be empowered to take on new tasks, new roles, and have new capabilities and have a new life? One of the members of the Life Aphasia community, this is a community that I launched just in the last few weeks. She shared with us, this is her quote, "Every day is a step towards retaining my autonomy, and the support system around me plays a crucial role in this journey." We're going to hear more from her in this episode. I'm not naming her for confidentiality purposes, but if you recognize this quote, thank you. Thank you for being part of our community and for sharing with us your insights as you travel through your journey with aphasia. So let's move on to what are some practical strategies for building independence with aphasia. We're going to talk about ways to get started. And I want to tell you all about, this is called Aphasia Independence To-Do List. My staff and I, we've pulled together a nice resource for you. It's a very concrete resource in that it has internet links, it has directions, and it has ways to use some of these tools to help build your independence. You may not be working with a speech pathologist or be a member in a support group, and you don't have to be. But this resource can be a first step towards gaining one more piece of independence. So if you want to get your hands on this free resource, you need to go to our website, dolifespeechpathology.com/July, July. Since it is the 4th of July, that's what we are using for our link to this free resource. We will also link it in the notes for this episode. So let's talk some concrete things that you yourself can do at home. You don't need to take notes because if you get that free resource, it will all be in there for you. An aphasia card. What is an aphasia card? Maybe when you were first in the hospital, or you were in acute rehab, or even during home health or outpatient, your speech pathologist may have offered to you or brought to your attention an aphasia card. And what this is it's just the size of a business card. It has your name, your contact person's name and phone number on it. And on the front, it says, "I have aphasia." And it defines aphasia as a language impairment. And then what's great about the back of it is you can customize it and put on it, what are your top strategies to communicate with you? Does it mean you need the speaker to slow down just a bit? Do you need them to give you time to respond? Do you need them to write down key words? So this aphasia card can go in your purse or your wallet. You can carry it on your person. And when would someone use this? You might use it at the grocery store. If you're at the checkout, you're in the checkout line and the cashier is asking you a question about how many cilantro do you have in this bag, and you're having a hard time responding, you can pull out that aphasia card and show her so that she knows to slow down and ask simple questions, whatever it is your strategies are. When else could you use an aphasia card? What if you are going through the airport? You are going through the TSA line to get to your gate, and you're having a hard time following the directions of the TSA agent. Couldn't you pull out that card? Couldn't you already have that card out with your driver's license so that it's handy and you can share it as you need to go through the line? The idea is not that you are flagging to everyone that you have aphasia. It's there to help facilitate, to bridge the gap in a communication situation that may not be going so well. We're talking with a person who doesn't know you and probably has never heard the word aphasia. An aphasia card can go a long way to helping these situations. Let's talk about a communication script. Often with several of my clients, they love going out to eat, whether it's going to a fast food restaurant, whether it's ordering at a sit-down restaurant, whatever the case may be. What about the spouse and the person with aphasia working together to come up with a script about, well, we're going to go to TGIF Fridays on Friday, and we're going to go for an early dinner when it's not noisy. And honey, wouldn't it be great if you could tell the hostess that it's just the two of us, that you'd like a booth, and that you can order what you want to get off the menu. So why don't we practice and go through all the steps of this? This is just one small example of a script. You take a scenario, you break it down into pieces, and you figure out what are the words I would say in this circumstance, and then you role play together. So for a restaurant, greeting the hostess, requesting a table for two, greeting the wait staff. Maybe they say, hello, how are you? And you're like, I'm great, how are you? And they go, well, thank you for asking. And then maybe you, the person with aphasia, you order the drinks. She'll have iced tea and I want water with lemon or lime. Ooh, live a little. Get a lime wedge in your water. Ordering drinks, ordering food. At the end of your meal, how do you request the bill? We're finished now. Can we get the bill? Can we get the check? However it is you phrase that. And then perhaps you're able to pay the bill, put the credit card out, figure out the tip, sign your name, and leave the restaurant. So practicing scripts in a predictable environment, a restaurant that you go to, you know what kind of the flow of the restaurant is, you can practice that to gain independence. But the person with aphasia first has to be empowered and build their confidence that they can do it. They need to know that if something breaks down, maybe they have words written down on cards, either that they can look at or they can show to the wait staff in case they can't get their words out. And then you, the spouse, have to kind of let them, test it out, see how it goes, work out ahead of time what their signal to you is if they want you to get involved or intervene. But sometimes the best progress is made in aphasia when you're uncomfortable. You're prepared, you've planned, you know what you're going to say, and you have a backup plan, but you have to kind of struggle with that execution the first time. But even if it didn't go as perfectly as you wanted, didn't it feel amazing? Think about the last time in your life where you took on something that made you nervous, yet you were able to overcome it. It's the same way for the person with aphasia. Practice, execute, do it again. The next time you go out to eat, try it again. What if the next time you go out to eat, you are just wanting to pick up some fast food? And like many of the fast food places these days, they have the electronic ordering, the kiosk, I believe they call it. That's very popular now. What if you went and practiced ordering some French fries? You go when it's not busy, or you wait till the line dies down, and you go spend some time with that kiosk and you practice your reading. One of my friends who has aphasia, she found that she needed to block off the upper text and some of the lower text so that she could see exactly what she wanted to focus on. By blocking out some of those visual distractions, she felt that she could read easier. So why not practice that at non-busy times? Just go get some French fries, pick up your order when they call your number, and then celebrate the win. One thing I know after all these years of working with individuals and their families who are living with aphasia is it takes time, practice, and opportunities. And this is that moment you can build resilience, build that rubber band strength, build it and build it and build it. Small wins add up to big wins. So let's talk some more about additional strategies for independence. And again, you don't need to write this down because it's all in the free resource, the Aphasia Independence to-do list that you can get by clicking on the link at the end of the show notes, or by going to dolifespeechpathology.com/July. So we talked about the aphasia card, but did you know that in the state of Texas, and I have not looked at any other states, you can get a notation put on your driver's license. They call it communication impairment. Basically, it's a simple application that if you need to add it on to your existing driver's license or at a renewal, this is an additional form you fill out. It doesn't need to be certified. You don't need a physician's signature, but you can get put at the bottom of your driver's license, communication impairment. If you are driving and you have aphasia, how would your speech be if you got pulled over? Doesn't even matter if you did anything right or wrong, or maybe you were speeding a little bit. I won't tell. But when the officer pulls you over and they run your license plate and it connects to your driver license and it says communication impairment, they're going to walk up to your car with a different expectation than if they didn't know about it. But maybe you're in a state that doesn't have this ability to add this notation onto your driver's license. Well, what could you do? If you got pulled over in this same example, you could hold out your driver's license plus your aphasia card. Because you may look perfectly normal. You may look perfectly healthy. You may not have any outward appearance of having had a stroke. You may not have weakness on a side of your body, but yet your words don't come out exactly right. And in a stressful situation like getting pulled over, I bet you your heart's going to be beating pretty fast, no matter what, right? And when emotion, what we do know about aphasia, when emotion comes into the picture, words can be a little more difficult. So why not have that aphasia card ready to go, put it on top of your driver license, and hand it to the nice police officer that is standing at your door. Let's talk about another way to build independence. There is a product called Road ID. It is a website. I believe it's roadid.com. And it's where if you're a person that you wear a watch or something like an Apple Watch or a Garmin or one of those other watches that monitors your health or your steps, whatever the case may be, Road ID makes these cool little metal plates that literally slip on to the wristband of your watch or the device that you're wearing on your wrist, and you can customize it to say whatever you need it to say. Your allergies, I have aphasia. You can have on the inside of it your in case of emergency contact phone number. What a great way to share with others as you need to, not as a billboard, not as, dun dun da da, I'm here and I have aphasia. No, that's not what I mean. It's about in case you're in a situation and your words don't work, why not have that road ID tag on your watch that you're already wearing? That's just one idea. Many folks with aphasia carry a smartphone or, whether it's an Apple phone or an Android phone. Did you know there is in case of emergency setup where you can put at the top of it not only your significant other's contact name and phone number and your drug allergies, but you can put aphasia and you can define what aphasia is. And you can put on there your top strategies for communicating with you. Give me extra time. Pause after you ask me a question. Whatever your strategy is. In the resource we created for you because it's Independence Day, there's information for both iPhone and Android phones, how you can set this up now, today, in your phone. Also, in your smartphone, you can add your health information and medications. I highly recommend each of you, whether you have aphasia or not, and if you carry a smartphone, you should be carrying your health information on your person because the world is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen a week from now, let alone 5 minutes from now. Get your information on your phone and have that ready. I guarantee you will feel more empowered knowing that is there and that you can fall back on it. For that matter, I'm going to speak to iPhone specifically. Have a note in the Notes app that lists some of your basic communication strategies and your in case of emergency contact. Pin it to the top of your notes. So all you have to do, tap on the Notes app, it launches, you see it pinned at the top, you tap on it, and you can show it to people. There are tons of amazing accessibility features on both iPhone and Androids. And in the free resource, we've linked a lot of the videos that you can explore on YouTube. I will speak to Apple specifically. They have a ton of professional videos that talk all about their accessibility features and walk you through step by step setting that up. What about using voice assistants? I'm not a huge fan of Siri, but I'll tell you the dictation feature seems, maybe it's user error on my part. I'll give you that. But if I use the dictation feature in email or text messages or even in the Notes app, it captures what I want to say far better than the voice assistant on my phone. Why not practice using that dictation feature? Open the Notes app. Practice speaking into it. Think about, saying what your name and your address and your phone number are. Just practice dictating into it. Talk about a speech therapy assistant, right? Because if your speech isn't clear or if you stumble, it's going to pick up all of those subtleties in your speech and it's going to print it right there on that app and you're going to be able to see it. And then you can practice it and smooth out your speech. So think about using the dictation on your phone. And then there's other apps you can use to help you communicate. There's apps such as TalkPath Therapy. The apps put out by Lingraphica. TalkPath is what you would look up in the App Store. They have several different apps available, and they have pre-programmed sentences that help you communicate some of the basics. The other app I want to bring your attention to is called Click AAC. And this is a really cool app. It's free. You can put it on your phone or your iPad. And what you can do is you can take a picture of something, a scene, your living room, your kitchen, and what it does is it predicts what it's looking at. So let's say I took a picture of, me sitting here in front of the computer and my face on video. It'll say woman is talking into a computer or video is on the computer. And why I like this app is it shows it both in picture form, also in sentences. It gives you vocabulary, it gives you sentences, it gives you phrases, and there's lots of cool things in there that you can practice. And you can practice it on your own. You can practice saying it. You can practice reading it. You can practice writing it, typing it, dictating it. The world is your oyster. We are in an age where technology is here to support you, the person with aphasia. It's just a matter of finding the app and finding the will to practice with it. So those are some ways you can be building independence with aphasia. Aphasia card, script training for like ordering at a restaurant, practicing with the kiosk at a fast food restaurant, having your aphasia information on your phone, using the dictation feature on your phone to practice your talking or your listening even. You could dictate a text message and it will play back to you before it sends, and you can listen and see if it understood you and got all the words you were saying. Then there's communication apps that you can also check out. Communication is such an integral part of our daily lives. It impacts every single area of your life, from your relationship to your spouse, your significant other, your kids, how you talk to your pets. I don't know about you, but my pets understand English. We talk to them like they're humans and they talk back. Well, maybe not in words, but they definitely do talk back. Speech, communication, it covers a wide range of contexts and activities, and each opportunity to communicate can have its own challenges. And we've explored some key communication situations and some strategies. And before we wrap up today, I want to talk about the concept of metalanguage. What is this, you ask? Metalanguage is thinking about how we use language. And to explain this further, I would challenge you to think about the last person you just talked to. Maybe you just talked to your spouse on the phone. What was the nature of that conversation? Was it just chit chat? Hi, honey, what are you doing? Or was it, honey, did you pick up the dog from the groomers? Or what time is dinner because I'm running late? Or what are we going to do tonight after dinner? Is it all business? Is it chit chat? Is it chatting about something that happened at work? Is it chatting about your granddaughter and how she scored a run at softball today? What was it? Think about that last conversation you had. And when you think about it, think of that as meta-language. It's thinking about how we use language. Who did you talk to? What was the nature of what you talked about? And how did it go? Think about things like, how did you feel when you were talking? Were you present, or were you multitasking and doing other things at the same time? What was the tone of voice? What were the competing noises in the background? Were you talking to your spouse when she's in the car driving and it's really noisy in the car, or there's a lot of traffic? Or was it particularly quiet? Or did the dog bark in the middle of your phone call and you got distracted by Amazon delivering at your doorstep? Think about your language. That is meta-language. Because I'll tell you, that starts giving you insight into how you communicate, what works, what doesn't work, and how it breaks down. This is something we do in therapy as our clients progress and move through their recovery. We talk about metalanguage because you almost have to take a step back and objectively look at how you're communicating, much like as if you're watching a movie, so that you can figure out how to do it differently next time. Effective communication, and it doesn't have to be verbal communication, but communication is the cornerstone of independence. When we can get our needs met, make decisions, and navigate our daily life with confidence, it's empowering. For a person who has aphasia, improving these communication skills enhances their sense of independence and self-reliance. Why not pick one area of communication and build independence there? Maybe it's going out to eat. Maybe it's answering the phone. Maybe it's listening to voicemail messages and writing down a phone number or putting an appointment on the calendar. It doesn't matter what the situation is, as long as you identify it and work towards the ones that are most important to you. And when you succeed in one area, add the next area. I highly recommend you start with something easy to build those quick wins, because those quick wins add up very quickly. As a final reminder, please get our free resource. It's all about aphasia independence. It's got websites and instructions and things to think about so you too can build your aphasia independence. Do lifespeechpathology.com/July, or you can click on the link in the show notes of this episode. Aphasia independence has to be practiced. It has to be planned first. And then we need to celebrate every time. And the best thing is to write down those wins. Write down those wins, reflect on them, and add more wins. Wishing you a very, very happy 4th of July and an Aphasia Independence Day. I hope you enjoy your barbecue and your fireworks, whatever you're doing to celebrate this day. Thank you for being a listener. Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section. Wishing you a fabulous week.